And welcome to today's session. My name is Tristan Fardy. I'm a really passionate contact centre leader, having worked in a number of industries such as banking, finance and automotive. Today we're going to be talking about inspiring, empowering and paving the way for future contact centre leaders in 2021. In 2021, we've hustled our previous CCW Contact Centre Leader of the Year winners to discuss the journey that they have been on since being awarded the title. CCW Inspire has been designed to shine a light on the leaders in their customer contact community and promote new ways to build relationships, support our people and inspire each other as we pave the way for future contact centre leaders. Today we'll be learning from Kylie Green, who is a Corporate CX Coordinator with the Logan City Council, and also Vince Santa Maria, who's a Contact Centre Manager with Allianz. I'm really excited about today, and I'm sure we'll take away some really great insights from both Kylie and Vince. What I might do is start with you, Kylie. If you could introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about the company or the organisation that you work for and what you do.
No worries. Thanks, Tristan. So yeah, everyone, I'm Kylie Green. I'm the Corporate Customer Experience Coordinator at Logan City Council, and I've been lucky enough to work for this organisation for the last 5 years. Previous to me coming to Logan, I've worked in the contact centre industry for the last 21 years. So 21 years ago, I started out on the phones under a Telstra contract for an outsourcer called Stella. And Stella was an amazing opportunity for me. I was with that organisation for 13 years and worked my way up to operations manager. So I've been blessed to work on amazing contracts, Telstra, Vodafone, Simply Energy, National Heavy Vehicle, Westpac Bank is another one. And then I came over to local government 5 years ago. So I started on the phones, I've been a team leader, a quality and sales development lead, an operations manager, an account exec. And then to be honest, I wanted my life back. So the opportunity to step back and really focus on customer was really what drew me to Logan, to have that work-life balance, but still focus on what I was really passionate about.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Vince, if you could introduce yourself, share a little bit about Allianz and what you do for them.
Thank you. Yeah, Allianz has been a great place to work for me for the last, I've been here 11 years now. So I think I started when I was 21 or 22, fresh out of uni and ready to go. So started like I think probably anyone who ends up in it, or most people in a contact center, started on the phones and became a team leader and went from there. So that leadership journey, I think, and bounced between another 6 or 7 roles before winding up here, and hopefully another 6 or 7 in the next sort of 10 years with the organisation. We've got obviously quite a large company, quite a large organisation, and we have a whole heap of partnerships with various financial institutions and car dealerships, all those sort of things. So for me, it's been a great leadership journey, and I think throughout my time here, relevant to the topic, we've seen the leadership development come a long way in terms of formalising programs and things like that. And to me, that's been a big step and a big thing in the industry. That's really we need to grow the talent, because like I said, nearly everyone who ends up in a contact centre manager role started on the phone. So it's about how do we, develop our internal talent to make sure that the people can go on that leadership journey, control these different, and can ultimately end up providing a great customer experience to our customers.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I might continue on from there, Vince, and hopefully if you could share a few insights on the key lessons that you have learned in your personal leadership journey.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think a key lesson for me is to get advice from as many people as you possibly can, and then filter that advice, because not all of it's going to be gold. I think, but it's great to hear all the different opinions from everybody. So my first piece of advice would be to make sure you've got a really good sort of mentorship pool, and that you have a good sort of group of people who you can talk to and work through issues with a good relationship. So I think it all starts with relationship building in that role. And I think the question is, how do we actually get there? And for me, a lot of this is you start on the phones, and how do you take that first step into your leadership journey? And I think for a lot of big contact centers, it's probably easy enough that that you've got a learning and development team who've probably developed a really robust program around what a leadership potential candidate looks like. But I think in the smaller organizations, it's probably where you don't have the resources and dedicated resources to those sort of things. It can be a bit more of a challenge, just from what I've seen throughout various contact centers. And that doesn't mean it's that it just means there's more onus, I think, on each individual line manager to make sure that they have a succession plan. Make sure that when you're recruiting, you're looking for people with leadership ability who can be your future leaders, who can step into the team leader role and who can backfill you. It's not selfishly, it does allow you into different roles as well if you've got someone who you can trust to take your role. So I think that's a really important piece to start developing people, and even before you've hired them, that's when it starts.
Fantastic, great, thank you. I think definitely comments around recruiting for leadership, identifying those leadership qualities early on. It's important. A healthy people who are going to thrive in a leadership capacity. That's fantastic. Kylie, would you mind sharing a little bit about some of the key lessons you've learned from your leadership journey?
Yeah, definitely. I guess for me, and it took me a few years to really embed this in my journey, was you've actually got to look after yourself so you can be the best person for your team. Here I was when I first started my leadership journey, trying to be everything for everyone, and I wasn't actually looking after myself. So I think it's really that stop, reflect, and what's going to be the best for your team in the long run, and that's looking after you. And for me, leading's a privilege. So it's not a status, or it's not that I'm better than anyone else. For me, it's just making sure you've got the right people on your team. And they've all got a job to do. So it's about hiring the right people and then not telling them what to do. So for me, that's a leader, is about stepping back and making them shine and learning from them. So yeah, that's, I guess, been my biggest takeaway. But then really looking at internally, and I call them my tools of trade. But for me, it's making sure you've got empathy, it's integrity, self-awareness, holding that mirror up to say if something's not going right with the team, it's looking within, having the ability to influence, be a great listener, and that praise and recognition. So I think, that's probably the biggest things I've learned on my journey, and it's been a 21-year journey, and I'm still learning every day. I took on a new team a couple of years ago, and it's a website team. Here I am, no technical bone in my body. But again, it goes to that. It doesn't matter what type of team you're leading. If you've got the right people, you'll still deliver. So yeah, it's been exciting. No day's the same, but I think that's what I love about the role.
Great. I really like and really, really subscribe to the concept that it's a privilege to lead. I think when people genuinely feel that way, then you really do get great results out of your leaders and certainly for the organisation. I think the times maybe where I've seen leaders not being as successful is maybe where their intention or their purpose is maybe not aligned to that concept. So absolutely agree. I really also like you talking around self-care, sharpening the saw, making sure that you're managing yourself well. And I also really sort of think it's really important that we manage ourselves well, and we need to manage ourselves first before we can lead and manage others. What are some of your top tips to taking care of yourself and making sure that you are taken care of as you certainly should be?
Yeah, I think that was for me 5 years ago. I'd been in the contact centre outsourcing industry for 16 years. And as we know in those types of industries, sometimes one of my last contracts, it was a 24/7 contract. So there was no downtime. So I really had to look at myself and say, is this what I want forever, to give myself that work-life balance, or is it now time to take on something new? And it was frightening after 13 years with one company to hang up the hook and go out there and get something else. But I just look at it as like every opportunity. And as you get older, you just need to have that balance right for you. And now I promote it for my team. You'll hear no noise behind me today because I've got my whole team working from home and I'm in the office. So it's really important that I promote that for my guys. But yeah, it's just making sure I do switch off from time to time, and my team will still tell you I'm not really good at that. I tell my team to don't follow me in that respect. So if they get an email from me at 8 o'clock at night, don't reply. So I'm sometimes my own worst enemy, but yeah, I try to get my team to really, if they're on a break, step away from the work emails. If you're on holidays, we've got your back, we've got you covered. You won't come back to a massive workload. It's that whole team. And if you've got the right people, it's really easy to achieve.
Great, thank you very much. Vince, got a question for you now. What is one high within your leadership career that you'd love to shout out?
Sorry, I missed high, was it?
Yeah, so one high within your leadership career that you'd love to shout out.
Yeah, okay, great. For me, I think leadership, the key role of a leader is to ensure that you've got one of the key roles anyway. I mean, there's plenty of them, but for me, a key piece is ensuring that you've got a really engaged workforce, because the greater the workforce engagement, I think the greater the output you get. And I mean, I'm sure most of us here would subscribe to that theory, and a lot of it's about finding a really strong balance between performance, engagement, and those sorts of things. But so what I'm leading to here is last year throughout COVID, as I'm sure everybody did, we had to getting people out of the office and into a remote environment, working from home. There was, some people have share houses, some people have, they don't have steady internet connections and all those sort of things. And for me, the real highlight of my career has happened in the last year, which was, we not only did we overcome those hurdles and those obstacles, and that was through teamwork. That were those people not saying, "Oh, that's not my JD." It was doing the right thing, and you have to promote that as a leader and ensure that you're setting an example there. But to me, we got a record-breaking engagement score in my team, which is phenomenal given the amount of change that we'd been through over the sort of 8 months at that point with COVID. So to sort of go through that amount of change and that amount of uncertainty and to get a record engagement result off the back of that in the high 80s was absolutely a highlight of my career. And the reason it was a highlight is because so much of that was driven by the leaders in my team and the team leaders, those sort of guys, making sure that they were there to support their people, doing things they'd never done before in a really pragmatic, efficient, and empathetic way. Understanding that, some people have, they don't have awesome setups at home. They may be going through domestic violence issues. There's a whole heap of things that people needed to consider. And the leaders really took that on. And, it's stuff that, nobody's really had a whole heap of training in how to deal with. But just through applying, Kylie mentioned before about that toolkit and having the empathy and those sort of things. By them, just leaning on those tools that they have built up, we're able to do that really successfully. And everybody in the contact center felt really supported by the leadership group. So yeah, to answer your question, that engagement result was phenomenal for me.
Great, congratulations. It's really challenging, particularly over the past 12 months, to maintain or sustain or even improve on those results. So well done, really great result. Would you like to share one of the low points in your leadership journey?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the low points for me was probably missing a key project deadline, and that was due to without going into too much detail and boring everybody, it was brought about by not having the number of efficient resources that we had, and me probably not effectively is what I should have. Again, Kylie said about self-care. I hadn't done that. I hadn't delegated enough, and I didn't, I guess, empower my team to be able to help me achieve what I needed to achieve, and therefore the team. And it was a really key piece for our customers, and we missed the deadline. And it was not only do you get a bit of a scolding from your boss or whatever, but it was just disappointing that we weren't able to deliver for the customer. So for me, it's all about everybody has lowlights and everybody has downsides to their career. But I think the key learning for me was I needed to let go. I needed to be happy with to delegate and delegate effectively. And that's what a good leader does. And in this particular instance, I don't think I did it as well as I could have. Anyone can delegate, but to delegate it effectively and use people's skill sets and make sure that you're there to do the check-ins and make sure that everything's tracking along. I didn't accomplish that to the best of my ability. And, we talk about a low light, but you have to learn from these things. That's the most important thing. And I did, and I passed those learnings on with my team as well. And, they were able to learn from my mistakes. And if you can do that as a leader and stop them making the same mistake, to me, you're doing your job anyway.
Great. And Kylie, would you like to share one of the high points within your leadership career?
Oh God, I've had so many amazing high points, and I guess it's just moving up the ladder in my journey. So the journey that I've taken and setting out a goal to achieve in each of the organisations I've worked for. So that's been a high point for me, and being recognised by my peers, like last year as part of this award. And so that would be it. But main thing for me is watching my team. As I said, I think I said 2 years ago when I took on the website team as part of my broader team, it was actually 3 years ago. Only 2 of them were web people. The rest, we were focusing on ensuring it was a new customer focused site. So we were learning how to write in plain English. We were learning about accessibility. And I took people from the contact center on that journey with me, because who best to write for a customer than those that talk to them every day? So just watching them grow and shine in their new roles to now, so that project was for a year, and we delivered a brand new corporate website for Logan City Council that is fully accessible and inclusive for the whole community, and it now sits in our branch under customer experience and community engagement. And the team have now achieved the honours of gold standard in plain English and AA for web content accessibility. So whether they're talking to a customer on the phone, at a counter, or now servicing them via the website, they've always got the customer in mind, and it's a huge achievement for them. So I think that would have to be a real high for me, watching them succeed in their new roles.
Congratulations. Yeah, I think it's really exciting when you see that growth in the team and delivering projects as well. There's a lot of yourself that you have to throw into those sorts of innovative pieces of work. So it certainly can be really rewarding. Yeah. Is there a low point that stands out for you?
Yeah, and I think the low is people as well. So there's some people you just see so much potential in, and you just think how amazing they would be. So you start investing, working with them, putting your energy into them, but they're not meeting you halfway. It's just they're not mature enough or not ready enough to see their potential, and either, unfortunately, the business makes the decision they're not right for the organisation. You make the decision they're not right for the organisation after all that time. I guess that's a real low for me, where you see so much, and if they'd just invested a little more into themselves and saw what we were trying to do for them. So many missed opportunities over the years. It'd be interesting to see what some of them are doing now, but yeah, I think that would be the lows for me.
I can absolutely empathise with that position. Leading people can be really rewarding. It can also be really challenging, and certainly times that are disappointing. So thank you for sharing. The next question we have now, I might sort of open it up. and either person feel free to jump in. What I'd like to understand is a little bit about what barriers we think are there to supporting our teams and also our future workforce, and how can we mentor our teams to achieve their career goals?
Yeah, I guess I don't look at them as barriers. I was lucky enough during COVID to do a big change management course, which was just amazing and empowering. So for me, change is constant in our worlds. So I don't look at them as barriers. I'm just like, what's that next change piece we need to go for to get our people ready? So we've got a program we've just started up called Creating Our Future. So it's looking at all those things, virtual leadership, what's technology is going to be a disruption. Again, any new people we bring into the business, do they have the right skill set for our future work, whether depending on our business. But I think engagement, consultation, change management, communication are keys, and you can work on anything as a team if you do that. But our future workplace is going to change. We're going to have hybrid models. We may all have everybody at home, but it's just, as I said earlier, it's making sure the right people in the right roles, and you're setting them up for success, like having plans in place. What does virtual leadership look like? You're used to being in an office and doing that face-to-face, so like a Zoom meeting, or we use Teams. You still have to have that face-to-face with that person every day as a leader. So, and you miss so much if it's just a voice on the end of the phone. You've actually got to touch base. How are they actually coping working at home? Because this is our new norm. Well, I don't think anyone will go back to a normal business. We had to ramp up to where we are now so quickly, and it's amazing what something like COVID can do to the whole of it's the whole world actually, on how quick we can get out there with new technologies and new things to make it happen. Where normally in local government things take a long time to happen, but yeah, I think it's just the new norm, and I don't see it as a barrier. You just have to take the people on the journey. Yep, their roles are probably going to be different in 20 years' time. Yes, we'll still need people, but is it necessarily, could it be all of the machine learning in the background, answering some of the customer inquiries straight away? Like, you just have to plan for all of this.
Great, fantastic. And Vince, what are your thoughts about mentoring our teams and breaking down barriers to support the future workforce?
Yeah, I think, to me, and I'm sure a lot of contacts and leaders can empathise with this point, but to me, there's two big barriers, and that's money and time. And I think that kind of goes across two things. I think as we've moved work from home, we've perhaps become less efficient in our, handling times may have increased. That people may have more internet downtime and that sort of thing, and therefore, it's harder to get people off the phones to spend some time, developing their leadership skills and attributes. So to me, I think that that leads into the budgeting process, and how do we start looking at what our shrinkage looks like next year, and how making sure that when we do our plans and our budgeting, that we have a plan, we have some time, we have some money put aside to ensure that we can get people off the phones, and we can have them coaching our other people to build that engagement among the team and really start to develop everybody's leadership skills. You can't just forget about that because you're busy. And again, a lot of if you're working in airline industries, all those sorts of things, everyone's getting things have increased, but you still need to be able to. You can't just stop devoting time to developing people and getting them off the phones to spend time coaching with them. And I think there's another layer to that. It's all good to make sure you've got the budget put aside, but you also need to make sure you've got some of your own time to put aside to be able to spend time coaching and developing. Likewise with the team leaders. To me, this year they've been a lot busier because they're trying to help people sort out their internet problems. They're answering questions from home. They're not necessarily, you can't just have that real quick chat. They're on the phone all the time. They're spending time in group chats, answering questions. So you need to ensure that your team leaders have enough bandwidth to be able to coach, develop our people. And that goes right up the chain. Everybody needs to make sure they've got time dedicated to coaching.
Something that I found is really important is that you're forecasting and you're building into your capacity plan time to develop your people. It just simply has to become a priority, just like anything else, as a part of a balanced plan. So I think that our workforce management teams do really great work, and it's really important that we give them the permissions to get the right results, but whilst also genuinely investing into the development of our people. Fantastic. Okay. Next question I've got is some advice or some recommendations that we can give to leaders starting on their leadership journey, and how we can support their success in the contact centre industry.
Yeah, happy to kick off. I think to me, it's I can speak from experience because I've been in one organisation for 11 years, and you know, to me, a big part of that has been to develop my own leadership skills. Has been to make sure you don't have that kind of ingrown sort of skill set. Is to really branch out and start to attend sessions like this and to learn from leaders outside of your organisation as a first point. I don't think there's anything wrong with stealing ideas. I think that's how we, call it collaboration if you want, but, you learn from other people and you learn so much in what others are doing in other organizations, but you also learn, especially if you're, a big company, there's other areas outside of the contact center who, you can learn a lot from. And so my advice is to really make sure, again, you have to allow yourself the bandwidth and the time and energy to be able to do this, but a lot of it's about networking, finding the people, whether they be in your local city or not. Can you go to a conference and learn about what you want to learn about? Can you speak to, the finance team, to whichever other teams are outside of your organization, outside of your contact center, to make sure that you're learning everything you can off of them, because that's your job, is to be able to get that information and share it with the other leaders and the front line in the contact center. And I think often your learning and development team are a great resource if you're lucky enough to have one, and ensuring that you're reaching out to them constantly and learning everything you can, because if you're like me and you've been in the contact center in the same organization for 10, 11, 20 years, whatever it happens to be, you don't want to just have that insular view. You want to be able to learn from other people's experience and bring that in and make sure that you're really broadening the scope of what's in the contact center of learning.
Great, fantastic. And Kylie, what advice do you have for leaders starting on their journey to succeed in the contact center industry?
Number one is never stop learning and growing, and that's from both the personal and professional level. So there's so many new trends, new self-development that comes out. So yeah, never stop. And your team is a wealth of knowledge as well, so you get to learn off them as well. But biggest for me, if it's really about career success and on your journey, deliver on your promises. So whether it's to the CEO, to as an exec, a manager, your team, or a customer. Deliver on those, because that's about your brand and who you are, and that stays with you for a really long time throughout your career, especially if you're with one organisation. So they would be the biggest ones for me.
Fantastic. I'm going to finish up now by asking you for your single top tip for new leaders.
Wow. Leading is a privilege.
Great.
That's my one. I started with it and I'll end with it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Kylie. And Vince, what's your single top tip for new leaders?
Learn everything you can, whether it's osmosis, whether it's getting into courses, whether it's spending time with other managers. I think you often, when you watch other managers, sometimes you learn what not to do just as much as you learn what to do, and I think that's really important. So make sure that you're actively trying to learn from other people, from their successes and from their mistakes, both equally valid.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, both Vince and Kylie. I took a lot from the conversation today, some really fantastic leadership insights there. So really appreciate your time today. And I know that others will certainly take away some really great insights as well. But thank you once again. And I wish you both a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.